village of La Mancha, the name of which I have no desire to recall, there lived a not so long ago one of those gentlemen who always have a glance in the rack, an ancient buckler, a skinny nag, and a greyhound for the chase. His surname was Quxiote, or maybe Quxiote, or most likely Quxiote. It doesn't really matter. You may know, then, that the aforesaid gentleman, on those occasions when he was at leisure, which was most of the year round, was in the habit of reading books of chivalry with such pleasure, devotion, and infatuation in this regard, that even sold many arcs of tillable land in order to be able to buy and read the books that he loved.
这位老头，等等！我看你骨骼精壮，一副练骑士人才的样子，根本是万中选一。我这里有一本练骑士的秘籍，我看就10元让给你吧。这么想要？这里还有，还有。 仍然有，还是有一堆的呢。我要忠孝路、建国北路、新生北路、高雄车站。都给你啊！南无阿弥陀。
And he would carry home with him as many books as he could obtain. In short, our gentleman became so immersed in his reading that he spent whole nights from sundown to sunup, and his days from dawn to dusk, poring over books until, finally, so little sleeping and so much reading, his brain dried up and went completely out of his mind. He had filled his imagination with everything that he read, with enchantments, nightly encounters, battles, challenges, wounds, tales of love and its torments, and all sorts of impossible things. His wits were gone beyond repair. He came to conceive the strangest idea that ever occurred to any madman in this world. It now appeared to him fitting and necessary, in order to win a greater amount of honor for himself and serve his country at the same time, to become a knight errant and roam the world on horseback. In suit of armor, he would right every manner of wrong, placing himself in situations of the greatest peril, such as would redound the eternal glory of his name. First thing he did was to burnish up some old pieces of armor left him by his great-grandfather, which for ages had lain in the corner, moldering and forgotten. He polished and adjusted them as best as he could. And then, he noticed that one very important thing was lacking. There was no closed helmet. His ingenuity, however, enabled him to remedy this, and he proceeded to fashion out a kind of half-helmet, which, when attached to the morion, gave the appearance of a whole one. He then adopted it then, and there was the finest helmet ever made. After this, he went out to have a look at his nag. He spent all of 4 days in trying to think up of a name for his mount. After he, in his memory and imagination, had made up, struck out, and he discarded many names.
I'll call you Percy. No, you're not that old. How about Fifi? No, you're a male. Hans. No, you don't look like a knife. Vinky. No, I don't like to eat Shaoxian cow. What else? Angkor. No, you don't talk to that much. I know. Jerome. No, you're not that handsome. Rosinante.
No, Rosinante. He finally hit upon Rosinante, a name that impressed him as being sonorous and at the same time indicative of what the steed had seen when it was but a hack. Whereas, now it was nothing than the first and the foremost of all the hacks in the world. Having found a name for his horse that pleased his fancy, he then desired to do as much for himself, and this required another week. And by the end of that period, he had made up his mind that he was henceforth to be known as Don Quixote. Our good knight chose to add his place of origin and become Don Quixote de la Mancha. For, by this means, he was making very plain his lineage and was conferring honor upon his country by taking its name as his own.
Roxy.
Having then made all these preparations, he did not wish to lose any time in putting his plan into effort. Without informing anyone of his intention, and without letting anyone see him, he set out one morning before daybreak, on one of those very hot days in July.
Roxy. 是你了，我要成为骑士王了。
This was how the story of Don Quixote begins. The adventures of the windmill giant. And the sheep armies. Can be all found in the Dorothy anthology of Western literature. Thank you. By the end of that period, he had made up his mind that he was henceforth to be known as Don. 不会念的。
当 Q 应该是当 Quxiote 吧。
我觉得问题
At the end of that period, he had made up his mind that he was henceforth to be known as Don Quixote.
这里还有，哎呦，南无阿弥陀，托你们去吃大便，谢谢大哥。